The accreditation is one big sticking point, or at least one of the bigger sticking points for people because it is work that the investor has to do.
Yeah.
It's not just receive the marketing materials, look at the legal docs. They have to actively go acquire a document or go through
That's right.
some third party service. And so I think that's an unavoidable friction point for them. People send us all kinds of crazy letters, and it's on, I don't know, they put in phone numbers that couldn't possibly exist on a quote unquote all cash offer. I'm assuming you've probably seen some accreditation letters that you thought were not legit, but I think most people probably do. You know, they're not pursuing it unless they have the money.
Yeah, for the most part. Have we seen things? Yeah, we've seen a couple of things come through where you're like, there's no way, come on. And where we're coming at it from is we're coming at it through a risk management lens. Some shops we work with, and largely this includes you guys, you're investors to a large extent. You have relationships. So you have a feeling for who these people are and what their situation is. And that helps a lot. The places where relatively few times where we've ran into or seen any kind of issue there is larger vehicles that are raising from general public, I'll say accredited investor pools.
Mhm.
And those are the places where occasionally you'll run into something, but it's
Few and far between when you start
Pretty
to get
few.
into the larger minimum investment amounts. And so I have a particular viewpoint that I want people who are newly accredited to at least have an opportunity to come into the private markets and get a taste for it. And so my forward-looking strategy, and definitely with the offerings we have right now, are to have a $25,000 minimum, which is a lot lower than some of the other places you might go where it's 100,000 or 250,000. Or I believe that my previous company, we had a $1 million minimum. And so you see quite a spectrum from 25,000 up to $1 million.
That's right.
Someone who's writing $1 million check, probably accredited. I don't see a way that they could ever not be. And even the government has recognized that as the fact at this point and said, if everyone inside of your fund or your offer is, I think, 200,000 at this point, your obligations are slightly lower for having to review accreditation and whatnot.
It might be worth calling out that there are different ways to be accredited. Most people think of it as the income and the net worth requirements, but there are others. Some apply more so to like family offices or what have you. Depending on who the investor base is, those might become relevant.
So the accreditation is one big sticking point, or at least one of the bigger sticking points for people because it is work that the investor has to do.
Yeah.
It's not just receive the marketing materials, look at the legal docs. They have to actively go acquire a document or go through some third party service. And so I think that's an unavoidable friction point for them. And then when it comes to actually funding, I think that's probably one of the other things because that requires a real action on behalf of the investor. And even if they are fully intend to, they don't necessarily go wire funds every day. And so what are some of the ways that you've seen or systems that are set up so that people can have a frictionless process?
Yeah. So you're right. The funding component is like friction point number 2. Obviously, it requires action on the side of the investor. So what we like to do and what you guys have done a good job with is offering multiple channels to fund through. In the case of the 4K funds, we're allowing folks to fund via ACH and via wire transactions. For a lot of folks, it's gotten to the point where ACH is more convenient. You link up your bank account. Again, this is done through the platform that we've set up, the Avestor platform. It's done within the investor's portal. The investor has the ability to set up a secure linkage between their bank account of choice and the fund. And from there, dollars can be transferred via ACH into the fund. Obviously, a wire can be done through the investor's bank of choice. And so what we've done is we've set up, when it comes time for funding to occur, assuming an investor gets through all the other pieces that we've already talked about, registering for the platform, going through the subscription materials, the PPM, and that accreditation piece, and all of that is set. What happens is our team ultimately produces a capital call statement, which spells out, hey, investor, you've subscribed for X amount. This is like a high level overview of the use case for your fund, your dollars within the fund. And then we provide actual funding instructions. And so we're getting to the point where, like I said, we've got these two options. Both of them are described within this capital call statement. And so every investor who gets to that point in the process is automatically receiving a call statement at the appropriate time. And through that, they can sit there and look at, in the case of ACH especially, instructions on how to go through the platform, the portal, to make that happen, to actually fund via ACH. We're also providing the wire instructions that one would need to call up their bank, go there and wire the funds in.
Yeah, and that's, again, something that I think your team has been really good about. And it's not only having the systems available, it's providing the instructions. And so we put in place all these processes and these systems to accept the funds and get everybody through it.
Yeah.
But there still is an interactive component to it that I think is really critical to keep in mind.
The other piece is that we hear a lot, just talking to folks out in the industry, talking to other fund managers. Hey, we're getting complaints from our investors because they're wiring funds in, but they're never hearing anything more about were those funds received, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I have set up this interesting procedure where our team actually has the ability to monitor the fund's bank accounts as these calls are funded by the investor base. And what that allows us to do is two things. It allows us, first of all, to make sure that the funding is being recorded in our investor platform. And then it also allows us to just give the investor a heads up, hey, we received your money.
Yeah, like a welcome letter.
Yeah. It's a small, tiny little thing, but it goes a long way. Not everyone does it out in the industry. I feel strongly that it makes a big difference.